Hi, everyone. Welcome to First Chapter Friday, Episode 8. This week's pick is Becoming Muhammad Ali by Kwame Alexander and James Patterson. You'll like this book if you like Muhammad Ali, who is a cultural icon. He was an activist and a boxer, and of course, if you like boxing. If you also like the authors James Patterson and Kwame Alexander, you'll know James Patterson from the middle school series, and then you'll know Kwame Alexander from the booked series. If you like poetry and illustrations, so if you've read Kwame Alexander's work before, especially the book series, he writes verse novels. So he uses poetry to tell stories. So you'll see that in Becoming Muhammad Ali. And there's also really cool illustrations throughout the book to help tell the story. If you like alternating perspectives, which is one of my favorite ways a story is told, you'll also like this story. So it's told in free verse, which is what Kwame Alexander does. It's a type of poetry in Muhammad Ali's perspective. And then his friend writes in what we call prose, or just regular writing, like a regular book. And that part's written by James Patterson. So if you like alternating perspectives, you like that. It's every other chapter. And then if you like biographies. So Becoming Muhammad Ali is a biography, but it's a fictionalized biography. So that means that the authors did take some liberties in the way that they're telling Muhammad Ali's story, but it actually has been authorized by Muhammad Ali's estate. So they were pleased with the way that his legacy is being told and the story is being told. It has excellent reviews, and it is a 4.15 on Goodreads. So the story is about Cassius Clay. So before Muhammad Ali becomes Muhammad Ali, he is Cassius Clay, and his name is Cassius Clay rather. And he grew up in Louisville, Kentucky with his family. Just like any other kid, he's facing all the same problems that normal teenagers and preteens face. So it tells a story from when he's a kid all the way up until he's about 17 years old. And so it talks about his childhood friends, his struggles in school, the racism that he faced, because at the time Kentucky was segregated, and his discovery of boxing. So I actually borrowed the book on Sora. You can check it out on Sora, or you can check it out on curbside pickup. But I'm going to be reading off my phone today, and we're going to start with the first chapter, which is entitled Round 1. So here we go. I remember everything. You probably would have too. That night was a piece of American history. The Clay family phone was dusty black with a rotary dial, and it sat on a wooden table in Anita's Pin living room on the little house on Grand Avenue in Louisville, Kentucky. Some 20 of us were crammed like sardines into the room, waiting for that phone to ring. Waiting for Cassius to call home. It was a February night in 1958, and I remember it like it was yesterday. My best friend, Cassius, was 300 miles north in Chicago, and that night he was fighting for a championship in the Golden Gloves boxing tournament. Cassius wasn't a professional yet, just an amateur. Tall, but a little skinny, and a lot of raw. Only 16 years old, like me. I'm Lucius, by the way. Nice to meet you. You can call me Lucky. All my friends do. Cassius had already won plenty of bouts all over Kentucky. But the Chicago Golden Gloves was the big time. When he won there, and we all knew he would, it would be lights out. From now on, people everywhere would know the name Cassius Clay. And so we waited for the phone to ring. I remember that living room was so packed with family and friends and neighbors that we could hardly move. The smell of roast chicken and sweet potato pie and cheese grits mixed with the smell of paint and turpentine. Mr. Clay, Cassius's dad, who everyone called Cash, was a sign and billboard painter, and he kept his work supplies right there in the house. Mrs. Clay, somebody called out, when that boy of yours gets famous, he ought to buy you a bigger house. Oh, you know he will, she answered, and then she looked right at me. Isn't that right, Lucius? Yes, ma'am. You know how it is. Cassius promised you a big house. I remember that Mrs. Clay was too nervous to eat, but she wasn't too nervous to talk about how proud she was. My Cassius did everything early, she was saying to a group of ladies. He crawled early, talked early, walked on his toes like a dancer. The ladies all laughed, as if they hadn't heard that story 100 times before. But Mrs. Clay just couldn't help it. Cassius always told her that he was bound to be the greatest, with a capital G, and she believed it with all her heart. So did I. So did everyone in Louisville's West End. Come on, phone, ring-a-ding-ding. The men and boys around the room, including Cassius's little brother Rudy, looked at one another with big grins and made punching motions with their fists. The big fight should be over by now. Under those bright lights in the middle of that huge Chicago stadium, Cassius would be standing tall in the ring with one hand over his head like always, his opponent next to him with head bowed down in defeat. Then the phone rang. It was Cassius with news about the fight, and he told it like only Cassius could tell a story. Before the fight, a reporter asked me if I thought I was as good as Joe Louis, or Sugar Ray was at my age, and I told him, I don't think I'm as good. I'm better. Got more flow than Joe, more slay than Ray. I'm sweeter, stronger, and faster. As a matter of fact, I'm so fast I can't even catch myself. Cassius Clay vs. Alex Watt, February 24th, 1958. Here's how it all went down. The bell rang in Chicago Stadium, and I could barely see the lightweight rush me through the rank cigar smoke that filled the arena. In the first round, he threw punches like pitches, flat and straight, striking air and striking out. So I played peekaboo in the second, sending quick jabs to his head. You ain't ready for Cassius, I whispered. Then I shook him up with a left and took him down and hard in the third. He sure wasn't ready. But neither was I, when I found out who I was fighting next. Cassius Clay vs. Francis Turley, February 25th, 1958. Frank Turley was a cowboy from Montana, meaner looking than an angry fox, with fists even meaner. They said he broke a guy's nose with a left jab, and smiled when the Joker went tumbling out of the ring, blood spurting every which way. I'm gonna lick you good, boss, he said, winking at me before the bell rang, and I believed that he believed he would. Knockout. We traded punches like baseball cards. Him, a wild Mustang, me, a Louisville slugger. Back and forth, left and right. Rough and rugged, till he cornered me with two lucky shots to the jaw that felt like kicks from a mule and sent me tumbling to the mat, wondering if I should just stay there. Long count. 1. While I lay there, the referee standing over me, counting to 10, to see if I could get up. I wish my father was sitting ringside, shouting my name. 2. I thought about home, about 3302 Grand Avenue, and playing football in the backyard with Rudy, and 3. The Montgomery kids next door, and who was going to babysit them now that I was a boxer. 4. And whether Lucky bought the new Superman like he promised. 5. I thought about my granddaddy Herman's story about Tom the slave. 6. I thought about how boxing was going to set me free, set us all free. And 7. What I'd ask Mama Bird to cook for my celebration dinner after I got up. And 8. Whooped this cowboy from Montana and advanced to the semifinals of the 1958 Golden Gloves Championship. Celebration dinner menu. 2 orders of veal, 3 slices of white bread, a bowl of cornbread dressing, 1 large green salad, a bowl of chili, scrambled eggs, cheese grits, baked chicken with baked potato, 2 pieces of pecan pie, 5 scoops of strawberry ice cream, and a great big old glass of OJ. I jumped up on 9. And Frank kept swinging like a lumberjack trying to knock down a tree, but I kept standing, kept sticking, kept moving like a mighty wind till the final bell rang and the judges unanimously called out my name for the win. Cassius Clay vs. Kent Green, February 26, 1958. Golden Gloves semifinals. I was a little weary from hanging out the night before, but that didn't shake my confidence when I stepped into the ring, gliding like a bomber jet and launching punches like missiles. Thing was, Kent Green was a tank, and he just brushed off my attack like you would a pesky fly at a picnic. The evening newspaper read, the 16-year-old pugilist from Louisville, with his quick feet and a loud mouth, showed promise in his first 2 fights, but got outboxed by the older, more seasoned, hard-punching Kent Green. On the phone with Lucky. I might have lost, but I'm still boss. I lost my stride, but not my pride. I'm still here, and yeah, I'm coming home. But this dream I got is set in stone. to be the best in the hemisphere, to win the Golden Gloves next year. How do I know? Because Cassius is courageous, tenacious, and one day he'll be the greatest. You hear that, Lucky? I'm coming home. All right, that ends First Chapter Friday. See you next week.